You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So JD just messed with my head. I'm supposed to come on here and do the show, have a cold open, all this stuff. And literally 6 seconds before we start, he says, quote, I watched that new Allison Janney action movie on Netflix last night. My response was, wait, Allison Janney, CJ Craig? He says, yeah. I said, I can't see it. He says, it really works. Now, this is the same guy that said I should watch more episodes of Terminal List. So I'm definitely cautious about this. But how the hell did someone go, we got a new action movie. Need to put somebody in it. Who are we going to get? How about the lady from West Wing that did all the briefings? Or that movie or that TV show where she was a really bad mom. JD, what was the name of the movie?
Lou.
Lou?
Correct.
Okay. So JD recommends Lou. Stay tuned to the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We are going to talk about Andor. We're going to talk about Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And we're going to talk a little bit about a rumor. Now, see, I'm having a hard time getting that out of my head. I had a different thing in mind for the cold open, and suddenly, boom, Allison Janney in an action movie. Completely forgot what I was going to do. And again, it doesn't, the fact that JD says it works. I'm having a hard time with this. He completely derailed me. Well, first it's on Netflix, so there's no guarantee that it's going to be good. Oh, it's like post-apocalyptic looking thing? She's there with a dog and Journey Smollett. Wasn't she the Black Widow or Black Canary? I know the name Smollett. Yeah, she was Black Canary. So Allison Janney and Journey Smollett. Not recognizing any other actors in the thing. What's the synopsis for this? A mysterious storm rages. A young girl is kidnapped. Her mother, with no other option, teams up with a mysterious older woman next door to pursue the kidnappers, a journey into the wilderness that will test their limits and expose dark and shocking secrets from their pasts. So Allison Janney is a badass woods girl or woman? All right. This could be awesome. I mean, but set in the 80s, okay. We're doing a bit of rumors, then Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and then Andor. episode 4. But I'm still reeling off of JD's comment about yeah. Huh. All right, let's move on. There is an interesting rumor floating around right now, and it comes from a source that is decently credible. You know, he's an insider with certain information, but he's not like Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter level. Those, if they say something's happened, there's a really good chance it's going to happen. I mean, they're not 100% either. They're the ones that were saying that Henry Cavill was going to be at Comic-Con. But there's a rumor of a potential replacement for Thunderbolt Ross in the MCU. Now, right there, I have an issue. Because Marvel doesn't seem to like to replace actors when they pass. Decently credible insider, not employed by industry mags, is it the Hulk? No. When I say decent credible, is that they've had a few hits and they had some misses. They probably have twice as many misses as hits, but that's a lot of insiders. But so they're talking about replacing Thunderbolt Ross for the Thunderbolts. I don't necessarily think they're going to replace him. I think they're just going to move on without him, because they can say this was a team that General Ross was putting together before he passed, but it's continuing forward. We have a new general, but everybody is concerned that we need a Red Hulk. And I don't know, do we need a Red Hulk? It seems like everybody wants to rush forward on everything and to get to these later characters and things that happened, you know, when there's still 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all these years of stories. So, but supposedly the top rumor, or the rumor of the top person that they're going after, is they're trying to get Harrison Ford to come in as the new Thunderbolt Ross. Now, to me, that just makes it even less credible, because let's see. JD's not a fan of Red Hulk, calls it a cliche, uncreative hack gimmick made up by Jeff Loeb. Yeah, I remember when he came out and everybody was like, who's Red Hulk? Who's Red Hulk? And I remember walking in the comic shop when I heard the name was finally revealed and just turning to the store owner going, okay, who's Red Hulk? He goes, you don't want to read it? I went, I haven't read any of it. Why would I? Just so in my mind, you know? I can't see Harrison Ford wanting to get into a franchise. He doesn't seem to like doing sequels anymore, even though he does them. You know, I mean, he did all that. He's doing his final Indiana Jones. I don't see him wanting to get involved with a new one. It's just over the top. And these are the type of rumors that I always kind of laugh at, because they seem built specifically to get attention. You know, if you want to get your website with a lot of hits, you start making these predictions, but you make them extreme, you know, and then it's like before D23, there was this ton of casting news for Fantastic Four. This person got it. That person got it. No, it's going to be this person. And everybody was talking about it like it was a lock. This actress is going to be the new Sue Storm, and this guy is going to play voice Ben Grimm, and then they announce the director, and then we find out who the writers are, and at that point they say, "Hey, we're going to start looking for a cast now." So, and this is a couple weeks after D23, so I just don't see it. Don't see it at all. But yeah, these are the type of rumors that you gotta just take with a bucket of salt at this point. So if you read one of these, and the sad thing is that they're getting more and more credence because other sites pick it up. I heard about that on some tiny website. It says Screen Rant. I click off of it immediately. Yeah. Well, this was CBR. Comic Book Resources, but they were, of course, reporting somebody else's saying this, and it's like, why are you using this on your website? Because there has to be some credulity to it before you should run it. When I worked at Bleeding Cool, we did that. We actually would stop and not put up something that was just a wild ass rumor, or we would label it as wild ass rumor. But mostly we just ignored them. Can you breathe and operate a keyboard on the same time? Higher Screen Rant vetting process. Pretty much. If you can, hype a story without actually giving any details, and yeah. So, yeah, I was a little surprised by it because I can't see anybody thinking that's a legit story, And I get it. We are coming off of the fact that Hugh Jackman has said he's coming back as Wolverine. So anything is possible is kind of the word of the day right now. But then you see Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross. And it's like, well, no, I don't see it. I don't see them doing that. It just seems like a really bad idea to me. And it doesn't seem like something Ford would really give consideration to. Because part of doing these CG characters is being the body behind it. Unless the plan is just to have him, and when he's Red Hulk, use a completely different person to do all the body work. And, that's not what they've been doing. It's not like, Ruffalo just does the Bruce Banner part. He's there in the costume. And She-Hulk, Tatiana Maslany is in the gray pajamas with the balls. So I don't think they're going to replace him. That's my honest opinion. I think, if they were going to replace him, they could pull a neat bait and switch and grab Sam Elliott, who played him in the Eric Bana Hulk. But then you got to think, but they don't seem to like to replace people. They did it early on. They swapped out, Terrence Howard for Don Cheadle. There's probably there's another run that I can't think of right now, but they've made Mark Ruffalo and Mark Ruffalo replacing Ed Norton. So they've done it in the past, but they're not doing it with Chadwick Boseman because he died, and William Hurt died. So it's not a matter of they were bad actors. They died. So I don't see them replacing William Hurt because I don't think that there's a story they can't do with a slight twist. I talked in my wild ass speculation last week on Monday that I don't think they're going to bring Liv Tyler back as Betty Ross, but I think we might get a Red She-Hulk in the She-Hulk series, and that it'll be Mallory Book. that it'll be Renee Elise Goldsberry in that part. And then we still get a Red She-Hulk, but we just get a different person as Red She-Hulk, And they change villains all the time, and they change heroes all the time, so they could do stuff like that. But no, I can't see them replacing Thunderbolt Ross. It just doesn't make sense. They can talk about him in the having passed and what he was setting up, and that's enough for Thunderbolts, and that's why he's named after him. It's why they're named after him, because it's an honorific after the guy who created the team and started everything in motion. JD says, if they had to, I think Ian McShane would be awesome, although maybe a miscast. I'd save Ian for something else. Ian could be spectacular, but it would need to be something different. So, all right, before we jump into the next topic, let's go ahead and take our first break, and then we'll come back and talk about Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
Hey, it's producer Kyle. If you like going places where the action never stops, like Las Vegas, the Caribbean, and Atlantic City, then you're probably not who I want to talk to. But if you want to surround yourself with amazing comic books and comic book content made by a devoted group of smart and funny industry insiders, the Experience Members Club was made for you. You can join the experience by becoming a supporting member of our YouTube channel. You get access to exclusive content that no one else gets, like members-only live streams, pre-sales, one-on-one Q&As with production staff, and other content that's exclusively for members. Plus, for a limited time, if you sign up now, you'll be entered into our giveaway of a slabbed comic book. Just call this 1-8... Wait, hold on. It's 2022. No one makes phone calls anymore. Scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or just visit the membership section of our YouTube page, and you'll be on the VIP line of the comic book buffet, baby. Look at the size of those perks. Join today, and I'll be saying, who loves you, baby? Me. The answer is me.
Hi, I'm Hedwig Hale, author of She Bites. You're watching The Experience.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. And there is a bit of news that I didn't get a chance to cover yet. And this comes from Deadline exclusively, that 20th Century next installment of the Planet of the Apes franchise is go. That they're basically moving forward. And they're saying that Freya Allen from The Witcher, she plays Ciri, she's going to star in it. The movie is going to be called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And we know that Owen Teague has been tapped to play the lead ape. Peter Macon has also joined the cast. And that Wes Ball, who was the director on Maze Runner, is going to be directing this. Now, this is basically going to be launching a new era of the apes, or a new chapter, picking up many years after the War of the Planet of the Apes. The screenplay is supposed to be by Josh Friedman, Rick Jaffa, Amanda Silver, and Patrick Asen. And of course, having four screenwriters is always a good sign. And sometimes it actually is. So, but yeah, now this is the first one that's actually going to fall under Disney since Fox bought it. So, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes with Freya Allen. And it's supposed to start production next month. So, haven't seen any with since the first one with James Franco. The director of them is now direct. Oh man, they're gonna make me. Matt Reeves. Wow. Could not think of it. Yeah, that's it. Matt Reeves was the director of the last few Planet of the Apes movies, and that's how he got the job directing the Batman. So, yeah, just could not think of his name. And when I couldn't think of the name, I couldn't think what the movie was. So, but yeah, so Matt Reeves is kind of the big deal now, but he got it, he kind of got moved up because of the Planet of the Apes movies. Let's see. Previously, JD said, he doesn't have to be dead in the MCU. He can just be off screen. General Ross ordered us to do this. That's possible. They could always bring in Glenn Talbot if they must do the Red Hulk. Yeah, that's a possibility. So, yeah, they don't necessarily need to recast Thunderbolt Ross. So, and they don't tend to use him that often. And like I said, we didn't see a Red Hulk or an Abomination, so maybe they're doing a completely different type of Thunderbolt movie. So we'll have to see. All right, so 1 sec. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons while you guys are here. I greatly appreciate it. So last night I had some time to just kind of lay around and relax. And I wanted to watch something, and I got kind of burned out. I tend to watch the news quite a bit, but all the news coverage was the hurricane, and I think it's very important. But most of the news coverage nowadays, when they cover hurricanes, is they send their anchors to stand in the middle of the storm, which I think is ridiculous. And then they ask people to describe the situation they're in. And most of the time it's all, I'm on the second floor, the first floor is flooded. And that's horrible, but it's not really giving us news, And there's a ton of other things going on, like rest in peace, Coolio passed away yesterday. And I didn't find out about it on the news. I found out about it on Twitter, of all places. So, though the night before, late at night, I tend to leave the news on when I sleep, and they had a moment where they covered Wolverine, Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine, and even played the video on CNN. So I thought that was pretty funny. If you'd like to learn more, okay. JD just put more information about the membership stuff in the chat. Now, so I was looking for something different to watch, but I didn't want anything too heavy. I just wanted something I could just kind of zone out to. And I've been hearing a lot about Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It's a cartoon series from Marvel that came out I'm not sure exactly how long ago it came out. Let's see if I can find out real quick. Oh my gosh, it's much older than I thought. It ran from 2010 to 2012. And I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. Let's see. And what's interesting is there's a lot of MCU influence in the series. Hey, Triple B. Hey, Ed. That's a great. Ed says that's a great cartoon series. My daughter grew up watching this with me. Oh, awesome. So yeah, like I said, I hadn't watched it, but I've been hearing about how good the series is and how they handle, they actually tackle the Kang saga. So I thought, let me give it a shot. I'll watch a couple episodes. And I watched the first episode, it's a 2-part thing. And like I said, it has heavy MCU vibe to it, and it felt like it was kind of maybe influenced by what they were starting to build in the MCU. But in reality, it is a modern day take on comics. It's pretty much what they were doing in comics. There was, they have a big incident that happens that all 4 major prisons get busted open at the same time. The Raft, the Cube, the Big House, and there's one more. Don't remember it off the top of my head. But all 4 get busted open and all the villains get out. So in the first 2 episodes, you see a ton of Marvel supervillains. And I'm not talking just necessarily the big ones. I'm talking about Mandrill, the Red Ghost, Cobra, and just Zizix, just all over the place. And you have all that going on, but you also have the team of Avengers that come together. The Vault, thank you. The team of Avengers that come together are the original team of Avengers. They don't rush in to bring Captain America in. Nowadays, all these cartoons, Cap, that's that first one you bring in. I was like, no, Cap didn't come in until 4 issues later. The original Avengers were the Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man, Wasp, and Iron Man. And that's what they give you. And I thought that was pretty amazing that they actually stuck to that. And they also, like I said, the first 5 episodes I watched, they build up everybody's side, their supporting casts as well. So there was a 2 episode that shows them coming together, and then there's 3 episodes that kind of show what happened before that. Now they don't really do one with Wasp and Giant and Ant-Man, but they do one for Thor, for Hulk, and for Iron Man. Well, the Iron Man one gives us Pepper Potts, gives us Rhodey, gives us Hydra, ties into Shield. We get a Nick Fury that is kind of a cross between Samuel L. Jackson's and David Hasselhoff's. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. And they even use an LMD at one point. The first villain they face is Graviton, who is a pretty impressive villain. But we see all these other ones escaping, and you find out at the end of this that there are 74 villains out there, super villains, and the Avengers, that's how they decide to form up. They're like, we should stay together and do this and make this happen. But over the thing, we also get, Absorbing Man, Abomination, the Leader, Loki. But like I said, each one of these, you get the supporting cast. In Thor, we meet Jane Foster, who here is a paramedic. In what we also see in Asgard, where we get the Warriors 3, we get Heimdall, we get Balder the Brave, we get Sif and Odin. In the Hulk episode, we don't get a lot of Hulk's backstory, but we do get Leonard Samson. So that's a pretty big one. So I thought it was surprisingly good, It had my interest. I only stopped because I wanted to get some sleep, but I'll probably go back and watch more. There are 2 seasons, 24 episodes, at least in the first season. Let me see if it's second season. Oh, there's 52 episodes total. So, and even the synopsis says, after 74 villains break out of prison, Marvel's most powerful superheroes team up to capture all of them and also to defend the Earth from widespread threats. So, yeah. And then we also find out in the in the Thor episode that Loki has had all these weird machinations going on, and we discover that he's the one that put everything in motion, which is exactly what the first episode of Avengers was. It says, as soon as Earth's Mightiest Heroes ended in 2012, they released an animated Ultimate Spider-Man series. That's another good one. And if you want to try it, I think there was 4 seasons. There was also another Avengers series they put out, but that one is not good. Okay. So when I get through this, maybe I'll check out the Ultimate Spider-Man. I've heard about that one too. And I know Iron Fist is a member of that and stuff like that. So, but yeah. But what got me is it really felt like old school comic book stories. Like they were doing the stories straight from the comics or trying to take as much of that as possible. You know, Iron Man sees Hawkeye for the first time and thinks he's a bad guy. Well, Hawkeye was a bad guy at first. You know, but he's also teamed up with Black Widow in there. They're partners in S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's something that's from the comics or from the MCU. So there's touches from both. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Sean says, Ultimate Spider-Man was quite good, actually. The Deadpool episode is hilarious. It's funny that we expect Deadpool to be hilarious. Because I really don't think he came off that way at first. When he was first created. It wasn't until Joe Kelly and Walter McDaniels did a solo series of him where they made it fourth wall breaking and all that stuff that I think the Deadpool we have now came to life. I think in the first incarnation, he was pretty much the same as Deathstroke, but with Spider-Man's personality. So, but no, I like the art on Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I like the story. I like how it says Deadpool is pretty much the Bugs Bunny of superheroes these days. Yeah. I'll admit, I am not a huge Deadpool fan. I like the movies. And I am excited as hell for the third one now. But when it comes to the comics, not necessarily a big Deadpool comic fan. I enjoyed the Kelly McDaniel run. I didn't really get much into it since then. Scott Koblish did a good job on the art for a while. I know that there's some big stories. I know there's a Deadpool video game that everybody loves. But it just, I don't know. Sean says, Jay is the biggest Deadpool fan I know. Fair enough. So, yeah, I thought that was all pretty interesting. But let's go ahead and move on from that. I'll ask you guys, let's throw it out there. Were there any other animated series that you think were done at a comic level? Because I see a lot of the animated series out there, and while they were fun, they were also kind of toned down. They were done more, they weren't as serious as some of the comics got. Like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, stuff like that. Or they get silly, like the newer Teen Titans Go. So, which ones do you feel like they were kind of on the same level as the source material? Let's see. JD says the original Teen Titans. I think the DC movies, the animated movies they come out with, have been that level most of the time. But I'm hard pressed to remember a lot of the cartoons or the animated series that were just really on this good par where it's like you're reading the comic episodes, issues, Anybody else got any? Am I missing any? Okay. Yes. Batman the Animated Series. And Justice League. The whole what Bruce Timm did. Basically, if Bruce Timm was involved, they pretty much were on that level too. But I think of a lot of the Marvel stuff, like the Saturday morning cartoon stuff, they always seem kind of toned down, Spider-Man, the 1994 TV series, was very close to comics. Okay. I mean, there was like the Spawn animated series on HBO that was pretty great. But they tend to go, it's like the animated Green Lantern series that was on for a while. I enjoyed watching it, but it was very different than actual Green Lantern, Just hopped on, was about to say Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Those are good. Batman the Animated Series might be the one cartoon series that really influenced actual comics as well. Yep. Harley was created from that series. Initially, I think, yes. Harley was created in an episode and then got brought over. She's not the only character, but she's the most popular. What's her name? Electrical character from Superman. Female. Static. There was another female character, a female villain, who was blue and is electrical, and she was started in the Superman animated Livewire. Thank you, Jay. Livewire was created in the Superman animated series and then made the jump to the comics. Red Claw is a villain that was good, but don't know if they ever brought her into the comics. True. I believe they brought the Phantasm into the comics from Mask of the Phantasm. So yeah, there's quite a bit, but then that's not completely new because certain characters like Jimmy Olsen was actually created in the Superman radio program and then brought into the comics. So when something really gets popular in outside media, comics tends to try to pick that up. I mean, the character of Chloe from Smallville got worked into the comics. Agent Coulson from Marvel and stuff got moved into the comics. Right, not to be confused with Valiant's Livewire. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and take our second break, and when we come back, we'll talk about Andor Episode 4. Be right back.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube, and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula. You want the comics? You buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
Are you a comic creator? Are you a publisher? Do you make a comic book product? Do you own a retail store? Do you do something I haven't thought of? Who are you and what do you do? Let us know by advertising on the experience and invite our viewers to patronize your product. Message the EXP on social media or email us _EXP@yahoo.com for more details.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the thumbs ups and all those things. They help us quite a bit. So also check out the membership services. They help pay for people like JD and Jay and keep this operation running. So if you want to keep watching the Dan Wickline Show, stuff like that, easiest thing you can do, like my man Triple B, sign up, be a member. Not that much. So, all right, let's get into the 4th episode of Andor. Before we do that, hey, JD, what's the lineup for the rest of the day?
Well, today is a very good day on the experience. It's Thursday, and that means we've got What's in the Box coming up after this. And after that, at 8 p.m. Eastern, it's Space Cadets with Shanice and Bean and Jenna from the Space Cadets crew, and I think Nerd Killer Warfare is still in hiatus. I'll have to check on that, and that is it for today. Henri's taking a couple weeks off because he's moving.
All right. Well, thank you, JD. Why don't we go ahead and run the spoiler thing just in case? I don't want to get anybody upset if they haven't seen the new Andor. I'm going to say that I'm really enjoying this new series. And it's not because of any specific thing. There's just something about it. And it feels like we're in this part of Star Wars we've never been in before. You know, there's no stormtroopers, no lightsabers. We get some Imperials, but the Imperials we get are bureaucrats. And it's all been pretty interesting so far. And it feels like the show has taken a major shift. The first 3 episodes, the debut that they did, was on this dirty backwater town on the planet Ferrix. It was all about where Cassian was came up, about his previous life and everything. But it also showed us a lot about Cassian in that he comes from a place where you stick together with people. When the cops showed up for him, everybody in town worked to help him. Those kind of things. You know, they were all looking out for Mavro. They were, one guy tied a tow cable to a bunch of trash to take out the ship, And it just really just showed a different world. Now, let's see what Ed says real quick. I like not knowing who's going to show up or what's going to happen between now and Rogue One. That's the same thing that sold me on The Mandalorian. It's cool because Star Wars gets to be new to me again. Great way to put it, Ed. That really is. And I think that's what drew me to Star Wars too, or to The Mandalorian, because it really allowed me to start playing in a world we didn't know that well, the Mandalorian world. You know, we didn't. Now, they started bringing in a bunch of other stuff. And while it's kind of interesting, I almost wish we had just stuck with Mando, with Din Djarin. That we didn't need Ahsoka and all this other stuff and building. But I'm still enjoying the hell out of the series. I kind of wish it wouldn't have been Luke Skywalker that came for Grogu. I was hoping it would have been a different Jedi, and that maybe they could have stuck around and trained, and then we would have seen, you know, a Jedi and a Mandalorian working together, and the baby Grogu. That could have been interesting, but they went where they went. So, and like I said, I still love the series. Andor, like I said, you could watch it and have never watched any Star Wars before. I was good with the Skywalker reveal. I really wish that was his only appearance. Yeah, I didn't necessarily think we needed to go back to him so quickly, especially in Book of Boba Fett. It's like, wasn't that supposed to be about Boba Fett? But I'm still confused about that and what they were thinking of there. But either way, we go into chapter 3 with Grogu back, and that's cool. So, but Andor, like I said, it's you could watch it completely away from everything else, which is nice, and that's what I liked about Mandalorian. But I'm hoping they're not going to start filling it with Easter eggs and multiple characters from other things. And it's like I saw somebody else talking about how we should get an appearance by Director Krennic in this. I'm like, why? Do we need one? Or do we need Jyn Erso's father to show up? We could just have a good story about. I mean, we got Mon Mothma. That's a pretty big Easter egg there, or a pretty big connection to the series. But it's the first 3 episodes focused on who Cassian was, and now we're going to start seeing him become who he is in Rogue One. We're now off of Ferrix, excuse me. It's hard to keep track of all these planet names. They're off of Ferrix, and in this episode, one of the things worth watching the most is Stellan Skarsgård. His character of Luthen is awesome. It says, when they do that, it becomes so gimmicky that it usually ends up bad. I prefer just having solid story and giving us a ride with the main characters. Exactly. I'm with you on that, Ed. Stellan Skarsgård goes through different phases in this. He has to convince Cassian to step up, to do more with his life than just steal from the Empire, to actually rise up and fight against those that he hates. And he knows that he hates them because he knows the situations he's been in. He was Cassian says that he was on the ground for 5 months on this one particular planet I can't remember the name of. But it's the same planet during the same fight that Han met Chewie. Now, he was there, and basically they were fighting themselves. They were fighting the guerrilla warfare groups there that had originally been backed by the Empire. So the Empire was basically cleaning up what they had created. But Cassian was not put in as a soldier. He was put in as a cook, and he ran away. So, he's good at saving himself, but would he be good at saving himself for a purpose? So we see that side of Luthen, the guy that knows the buttons to press to manipulate somebody, to try to motivate them into doing something. And we find out that there's this plan. And the plan is to rob the Empire of the quarterly pay for an entire sector. That sounds like a lot of money. And while that would help to fund the rebellion, it would also cripple the Empire because, hit them where it hurts, They've got to pay their soldiers. They're all conscripted into the army. They get paid. So I thought that was an interesting plan. But then they go to this other planet, and there it's we have the name of that. It's Aldhani. And on Aldhani, he is dropped off with Vel Sartha. Now, first, Luthen goes out and talks to her and has to convince her that the original plan they had, which was going to be 6 people trying to do this heist, was now going to be better with 7. And his convincing her of that was not so much manipulation as it was intimidation. He was more authority with that. He spoke to her as if this is my plan type of thing, and forces her to get on board. Mind you, she does, but we see that side of Luthen. And Cassian gets left there. Now, he's told to pick a name to go by for this mission. So I like that Luthen's already teaching and giving him things that will work as a spy, and he ends up picking the name Clem, which was the name of the gentleman who was with Mavra when they found Cassian on the original planet, on Kenari. So Clem, who is probably his father figure, he takes that name. Now, he gets dropped off there, and we follow Luthen, and he opens up a hidden compartment in his ship, and we see that he's got all the outfits and stuff for his real life, or his cover life. He's got the wig, the longer haired wig. He's got the nicer clothes, rings on all his fingers, stuff like that. And there's a moment that he gets all put together, and he starts doing these hand gestures. And you see him shift into the political character, the one who's going to interact with everybody on Coruscant. So to me, that was all fascinating. Also, he said he's going to pay Cassian $200,000 for this job, and offers him a down payment in the form of a kyber crystal that he wears as a necklace. That's worth about $50,000, but it's worth. Luthen says it's worth more to him, and that he wants it back when this is done. So that's interesting. So I thought that was all a neat story. Or just watching Stellan Skarsgård as an actor was really cool there. But we also meet a new Imperial played by Denise Gow as Dedra Miro, and she's working the political system on whatever, I don't remember the name of the planet they're on either. But basically, she has 2 sectors, and that little box that Cassian had stolen came from her sector. Coruscant's not the Empire's planet, that's the main planet. I don't think she was on Coruscant. I think she was on a different world. But she butts heads with somebody else there, And it's this total bureaucracy thing. And the head guy went on this rant about how they're not there for security. They're there for healthcare. They're there to fix things as they get bad, to heal things. And it was just kind of an interesting speech, but it shows the start of the empire, but not really the hardcore demanding way. It was more of a, get it done, but keep people complacent. So that was kind of fascinating. And I'm curious what's going to happen to her character. She seems really interested in what that box being stolen and how she thinks it's the start of a series of crimes to help to build a rebellion. So I think she's going to be one to follow going forward. We also follow Mon Mothma, who shows up at Luthen's place, and he runs this little museum-like thing where they sell antiques, like an antique store, I guess. And she's there to buy something for her husband's party. I guess it's his birthday or whatever they called it. And it turns out that, they go in the back to look at something special, and they start conversing about the rebellion and how there's this circle of people, and that she has someone she wants to bring in because she's having difficulty moving the finances. Now, we don't know who that's going to be. It could be Bail Organa. It could be somebody completely different. But, of course, Luthen's leery about that. Don't want to bring other people in. But, yeah, so that was also interesting. We got references to Saw Gerrera and his group a couple times in here. But Mon Mothma goes back to her place and discovers that her husband has put together a dinner party, and that the guest list involves a bunch of people that she butts heads with constantly. So she's not happy about that at all. So there's that's going to be a dinner party where I'm hoping we're going to get to see. So Mon Mothma is going to be a bigger character in this series than maybe we necessarily thought. And then we go back to Cassian, who's trying to ingratiate himself. Not really, he's not really trying, but he's supposed to ingratiate himself with this crew that's been spending months preparing. And suddenly, like 3 days before this event, another guy gets thrown in. But he's supposed to be redundancy because he can do just about everybody else's job. So they've got that extra man in case somebody goes down. Makes a lot of sense. So they, of course, are all leery, but eventually give in. And we meet all of them. They're all pretty generic rebellion characters. I don't think we've gotten enough from them to really see anybody stand out. But yeah, so that's going to, I think we're going to get that probably quickly. I think maybe they're doing this in 3 episode blocks, but I think this story is going to happen and wrap up, and then we'll move on with Cassian as he does more stuff. That would make a lot of sense to me. All right, guys, I've got to wrap it up there. I talked too much, but let's pick this up next week. We'll do all the shows next week. So have a great evening. Stick around for what's in the box. Good night, everybody.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or